That's right, it's the Lowdown with Lorenzo Alexander joining us this week on Thursday rather than the normal Friday because of the shortened week. The Lowdown brought to you by Hutch's Redefining City Dining. John Murphy, Steve Tasker, Lorenzo. Thanks for coming by, Lorenzo.
Yeah, always. I enjoy coming and hang out with you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a short week. What's the difference between this Thursday and last Friday?
It's a day
That's
shorter.
Tough question, man.
Yeah,
Tough question, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday instead of
think.
Friday, so my body knows it's Thursday. But no, I think we're good. We still got a complete week of preparation, unlike a Thursday night game where it's pretty much, you come in Monday, Tuesday.
Couple walkthroughs and game time.
And it's game time. We still got a full week of practice, all of our reps. So I know we're mentally prepared, and then physically we have a young team, so we'll be okay as well.
And there's no underestimating or overestimating the fact that you get into this rhythm, particularly at the beginning of the season, except for the Thanksgiving game. Every game was at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. When you start messing with that, it's like, oof.
Yeah, and I can tell big time as far as playing at 1 versus 8 o'clock at night. For me, it's a big swing, and it throws my routine completely out of whack. And so the only way you can really even prepare for it is actually playing those games. So obviously we had one last week. We have a 4:30 game this week. I think we played at 4:30 on that Thursday. So my body will start kind of understanding what's going on. And then, in the playoffs, who knows what time we'll play, depending on the matchup and how that works.
I was going to ask you, and I know this now in your years here in Buffalo, you are as tuned into how you feel and what you need to get ready more than any player I've ever seen, right?
Yeah, it matters. I mean, I think when I feel great, I play great because I'm not thinking about it. And if I don't feel well, I'm trying to figure out what can I do to get me to feel well by game time so I can go out there and play well. And so, I think the older you get, you learn your body, you understand, your ups and downs, when to panic, when not to panic. And so I just try to, be very just pay special attention so that I can be prepared on Sundays.
And Steve and I were talking about this actually this morning about how healthy this team has been in general.
Right, yeah.
And I think there's an opinion in the building anyway that one of the reasons is because you guys are tuned in. Not just you, the entire team is kind of tuned in to what you need to get ready to play and avoid injury.
Yeah, and I think that's the way the NFL over a whole is moving towards, just being smart instead of, and I call it dumb tough, just go out there and grind and work without any rhyme or reason to it. And our organization, I think, is probably heads and shoulders above the rest of the league, as far as with the sports science department, our trainers, and then having a head coach that actually listens and incorporates that in how we practice, how we rest guys. Is key from top to bottom, and obviously we are seeing some fruits of that with having limited guys injured or even on IR at this point in the year.
And one of the things about these funky games, 4:30 games, the 8 o'clock or 8:30 at night game.
Yeah.
How do you handle? I mean, experience is the best teacher. Having gone through it,
Mm-hmm.
But what is it? Just as simple as saying, okay, I usually do this. Now, do I do the same thing except 8 hours later in the day?
Yeah,
or
you
something
try to
like that?
bump things back. You also got to make yourself even get up because the tendency is, just for guys, you're just trying to. You don't have kids or anybody around, so you just want to kind of lay around all day. But if you get too much sleep or lay around, you can also be lethargic. So just trying to come up with a routine that works best for you. And since we don't do it all the time, it's kind of hard to kind of figure out what that is when you're doing it a limited amount of times. But obviously this year with the success, we've had 2 or 3 games now that are outside of the scope of the 1 o'clock games. And so, I've kind of developed something. I know probably some of the other guys really don't care because they're young and they feel great all the time. But,
Those
so
were the days.
Master. But I tell you, the hardest thing about playing a late game is, especially if you're on the road, is getting back and you don't get to sleep until like 2 o'clock and you're still kind of wired.
Post game.
So it's 4 o'clock, and then that next day, Wednesday can easily or Monday can turn into that Tuesday where your sleep is just kind of all thrown off. And so that's probably the most difficult part about playing the 8 o'clock game.
We had Jordan Phillips on Monday, I think.
Oh, yeah, he probably was dead.
He didn't even sleep. He didn't go to sleep.
Right,
he showed up, he went in, got treat. He just started his day.
Right.
And I know this, too, that in my experience with overnight travel and all of that stuff, you'll gut it. Like if you get back at 4 a.m. on a Sunday night and stay up, you'll be okay through Monday.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Tuesday
hit you in the face.
Oh my God, you want to just you want to do something different.
Right.
And that's kind of what we saw with the schedule change. I mean, there was a kind of a light, instead of a hard day Tuesday after a day off of Monday.
Right. And that just goes to show you how much Sean has grown. Our first year, we probably would have had a regular day of practice on that Tuesday. But I think he's grown. He's seen the fruits and the benefits of incorporating what the sports science and what the athletic trainers and what our GPS are saying, just to make sure that you're fresh, especially with us knowing that we're in the playoffs now. Having a mind of making sure that we want to prepare for the Patriots and we have the Jets next week, but making sure that we hit this thing and be at full tilt and feel like we're at 100% late in the year.
With Lorenzo Alexander, Bills linebacker, a couple of days before the Bills travel to New England or play New England in Foxborough. We saw you on our favorite show today. You were on Good Morning Football on NFL Network, and we love that show. And Michael Robinson, right?
Yeah, we go way back.
Yeah.
I played against him when he was in Seattle for all those years, and just a great dude, good special teamer, was a former quarterback.
He said something that kind of stuck with me, or at least it got my attention about this matchup Saturday, Bills and Patriots. He said, and looking back to Week 4, the loss here, he said, the Bills are better than they were in Week 4. The Patriots are not as good as they were in Week 4. You buy that?
Yeah, I mean, probably if you look at the way we're winning and how we're playing, I mean, I guess you can maybe make that assessment, outside looking in. But this is a championship caliber football team. There's a reason why they have won this division for the last, decade and a half.
10 years.
Is it only 10? It feels like 15 or 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
In a row, exactly. There's a reason why.
Yeah.
And so you can say, and we've had this conversation before. I mean, it might have been a couple of years ago. Starting to see some weakness show up in this Patriots, and they win the Super Bowl. So, yeah, people can feel that way if they want to, but I've been around long enough. I competed against Tom Brady in this Belichick coach team enough to understand that when things are on the line and they need to win and they want to position themselves or they need to get things going, they get things going. And so we're going to have to come out there with our A game and expect to get their best.
Yeah, I agree with you. You sit back and everybody's like sticking forks in them.
Right.
They're 11-3.
Yeah.
They find a way to win. And I said, no, and they're saying that Tom Brady's he's not playing as well. Even our Twitter poll this year is questioning, how good is he.
50% of our respondents.
Right, and they're saying, hey, all this. You know what? They're 11-3, and I told Murph this. Tom Brady can go 1 for 27 and throw multiple picks.
Right.
And they beat you 6-3. He still gets the win.
Exactly.
It goes in his pile.
Right, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And if you ask him, that's all that matters. He he probably at this point could care less about his stats. He's already enshrined as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's just trying to stack championships and wins. And so however he gets them, he gets them, So, and we have to be prepared. And that's one of the reasons why we got to be ready for just really stopping Sony Michel initially and trying to make it a one-dimensional game.
Question for you about Brady, and not about Brady in history and all he's done, because you have to acknowledge it, greatest of all time.
Right.
Right now, Tom Brady, what challenge does he present? What does he do best?
The same challenges he's always presented. He's the same guy. I think people get caught up in what has he done lately and some of the struggles, and guys are going to up and down. He is older, and he may be nagging some things. I know Edelman is banged up a little bit, so they're not hitting on all cylinders. But like I said, this team can get hot at any second. I've been here. I've heard this story over and over and over. And he comes out and plays when things are on the line. He's a championship caliber player. So I don't want people's eyes to fool them about who they really are at the heart of things. Yeah, we're a good football team too, and we have a great chance of beating them because we're a good football team. But we can't go in there thinking, well, Tom is not playing good. We might be able to take advantage. No, we're going to get his A game. And their defense is really good too. Their defense hasn't
there ain't nothing
off
wrong.
at all.
There's nothing wrong with their defense.
Right.
Their defense ain't 42 years old.
So this is a good, great football team just based on the pedigree, because at any time they can get things figured out and get hitting on all cylinders. So I'm not going to get caught up in they don't look like the Patriots of old, because I've heard this story many times, and they figure out ways to win championships when they look like they're on their way out.
Right. I agree with what he said.
Yeah, and of course 50%.
I just raised the question. I didn't say
I know. And then you mentioned 56%. Of course 56%, because most of the people that are checking that poll are Bills fans, and they want to believe it too. And I get it.
I haven't seen the poll in a minute or two, but we asked the question today. Did the Patriots, and I think it's a legitimate question, did the Patriots have a Tom Brady problem?
Do they? I mean,
I don't know.
We said that a couple of years ago, and they won a championship.
54% of respondents.
I remember having this conversation with you, Murph.
I said
yes.
what?
I think they don't look that good.
They don't look that
I
good?
don't look that good, and they win a championship, Murph.
We'll see.
It's all about mindset.
Ain't nothing wrong with an ugly win.
Right.
And they got a lot of them.
You can't go in there thinking that they're not the Patriots of a championship caliber team.
Well, I asked this question when Thurman was out here. Players, former players and current players, how do you walk that line between respecting an opponent as you should, and thinking, hey, we can beat him, though? I mean, where is the line?
Every time I walk that, I do it every time I go out. But I'm not going to underestimate him based on what he may have done the last couple of games or the last couple of weeks and say, well, he doesn't have it anymore. But every time they could be 15-0. And I step on that field, I respect what he's going to do, but I'm going to go out there and try to win this game.
There's a country song, and it says, I'm not as good as I once was, but I can be as good once as I ever was.
Yeah.
That's Tom Brady to me.
Yep.
That guy is going to come up and flip a switch, and a couple of guys will make plays, and all of a sudden, he's going, let's go, in the back of the end zone, right? So, yeah.
It could happen. I agree.
Yeah.
Lorenzo is with us for a few more minutes here. Incredibly, I've heard people suggest that the Bills, at this point, and with a chance still to win the division, the Bills should think about resting players for the playoffs. I can't believe anybody would consider that. You guys have a lot at stake here, right?
Yeah, it's hard to rest players. You can, depending on where you're at, maybe the last game you can be strategic about maybe older players or guys that may be dealing with some nicks or bruises, but you never can get a guy because you never want to get them out of their routine and get them out of maybe playing really well or trying to protect guys because you want to try to win every game. And obviously we're in a position things could fall our way and we could find our way in having a first-round bye still at this point. I think if we went out and the Patriots lose and then KC loses,
right,
we could get in. Obviously that's a lot of stuff that can happen, but it happened when we won the playoffs 2 years ago. It was 9-7. A whole bunch of stuff had to happen, and it happened. Yeah. So who says it can't happen in this way? So, but I know as a football coach, as a head coach, obviously you want to be prepared to win this game, the next game, and obviously go in at full strength for the playoffs. So maybe depending on what happens this weekend, you make that decision once the situation presents itself.
Right. I agree. I totally agree with you. You're in it to win. And there's only so much you can do about resting guys. You got 40 the same guys on the field.
Right.
Yeah. You're going to have you can't have just 22 guys play all 150 plays.
Right. That's why you only can maybe do one or two guys based on their injury health and what's going on.
You can rotate a little faster, but you got to rotate back in too.
Right,
it's just
because those guys play special teams.
The only way you can rest is if you are in street clothes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to play.
You're right.
Hey, Lorenzo, Pro Bowl came out a couple of nights ago. Tre'Davious White's going in. Your thoughts on that? And anybody who you thought should have had stronger consideration among your team?
Well, obviously, Tre'Davious was a no-brainer. And I know we talked about Stephon Gilmore when we opened up. You could put Tre'Davious in that same breath as far as being Defensive Player of the Year. If you look at what he's done, I don't think he scored a touchdown. But as far as being locked down, the interceptions and the game-changing plays when he's made them, He's up there, too. He could be in the conversation. Obviously, Jordan Phillips not getting in is crazy. The guy had 7.5 sacks, and now he has 9.5. Obviously, that happened after the voting. But for a guy that has played at the level he's played at for the majority of the year, and I know he wasn't a starter, but this dude should definitely be in. Obviously, Micah Hyde not getting any recognition. Jordan Poyer, and I think sometimes they may hurt themselves because of how good they play together. People don't think they're good individually.
I have trouble differentiating
them, and I think that's an issue. And then obviously Tremaine was right there. So kudos to him in his second year because I think he's going to be the standard. It's funny though when you watch how teams around the league move guys out of certain positions because the guy that got him in front of him last year was an outside backer. And then this year they moved to inside backer, so he doesn't have to compete with 3-4 defensive ends.
Right.
And so that kind of hurt him a little bit, or I think he would have got in just outright. But I think they need to probably open up a new position, too, like an edge, like they do for All-Pro now. They have an edge, like for the 3-4 guys that are outside backers, but they're really defensive ends, to allow guys like a Matt Milano. Like a Matt Milano will never get in because the guys that normally get voted in are like Pittsburgh Steelers, Ravens outside backers that are predominantly rushers, defensive ends. So I think there's ways we can improve it to get guys in. But at the end of the day, we should have had a few more guys in being 10-4. I think we only got one guy in last year when we were 6-10,
Right.
and being as plus having a top three defense.
Third, yep.
Top three.
There should have been a few more guys on that
Yeah,
list.
you think too? The Patriots got 2 guys in.
Yeah.
Right. So defensively. So
Right.
And you mentioned Tremaine Edmonds, who I said this to Steve yesterday, I think. If this season were a couple games longer, he'd be in. I mean, his level of improvement from September to now has been amazing.
Leaps and
He's
bounds.
a force on
And
the
it's
field.
going to continue to get better because the dude, when you sit in meetings, I'm sitting there listening to him talk with our coaches and how he just knows where all the checks are, what the calls are up, what his reads are. I mean, it's grown enormously since just the beginning of this year, and even from week to week, I can just see the improvement in the confidence. And when you playing like that, and you understand what guys are attacking you, his athleticism just shines bright and shines through, and you can see the way he's been running around hitting folks.
All right, the lowdown with Lorenzo Alexander, some of his keys to Saturday's game against the New England Patriots. Your first lowdown has to do with the mental aspect. What do you think?
Yeah, just the mindset, and I think this is huge. Any time that you play Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, you can't get so enamored with who they are and what they've done over the years that it cripples you from doing your job. So looking at Tom Brady all the time, like, wow, just win your matchups. And then also not getting mentally hijacked. Obviously there's always controversy about calls and what the refs are going to do. Just expect not to get anything because you don't want to, your focus to turn to the refs and you arguing with them and they getting back on the ball and running the next play and then you end up having a mental error or something like that. So just having an understanding of where we're going, what we're about to encounter, and just have the mental focus to understand that everything is not going to go our way, probably not our way at all, just from that perspective in history.
Because it's the Patriots?
Well, you know that, yeah. Officiating, come on. I'm not just don't expect calls.
Right.
It's good calls. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay.
It's not a secret. Is it a secret, Murph?
I don't like to acknowledge it.
Oh, you don't? Okay, well, it happens. I mean, and so you need to acknowledge it so that when it happens, you're not like, oh, man, what is going on?
Okay.
So we're acknowledging it so we don't feed into it from a mental standpoint.
So when they overturned that Calvin Benjamin touchdown a couple of years ago, you were thinking, yeah, that's what happens here.
That's about what happens. I can't allow that to hijack my next two series.
I got you. No, what are you looking at me for?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You're living in an alternate universe right now. I'm waiting for you to come back over
I'm just
here.
saying what happens. You just can't get into it. And then, and then also get caught up into the hype of not hype because they've earned everything of who they are over the last 10 years.
This Patriot Week always kind of uncovers our true personalities about what we're. I think it does. All right, anyway, lowdown number 2.
Lowdown number 2, red zone.
Yeah, we have to win this area on both sides of the ball. I think this game is similar to what we've faced the last 2 weeks. We've played great defenses from an offensive standpoint. So when we get down there, we have to convert into touchdowns. We can't settle for field goals. And obviously, we think that Tom is not playing as well as he is, according to you. But at any time, he can put 28, 35 points up on you. And so we need to score points to put that additional pressure on them to feel like they need to execute more at a high level. And obviously, what we've done in the past that has kept the games close is make them kick field goals or even take the ball away. We saw Micah Hyde have a great interception in the red zone versus Tom Brady last time we played him. And it kept the game close and it still gave our offense an opportunity and our team to win the game.
Yeah, that's you're right. Red zone efficiency and points, once again, with 2 defenses like are playing in this game, top 3 defenses in the league, points are going to mean more.
Yeah,
and you got to take every opportunity to get them.
Exactly.
What about lowdown number 3, play smart football?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another kind of like a historic thing when you play this team. Teams find a way to beat themselves for whatever reason. The Patriots are known just to out-execute you in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Last time we played them, we gave up a pump block, just not executing properly. They block it and score a touchdown. I mean, and so you cannot do those things versus an elite team. And I think I think that's probably one of our things that we haven't done consistently through the years, play smart, no penalties, protecting the ball, not having bad turnovers, late in the game on the line, or backed up when they give the ball to them in the red zone. Those are the things that we probably have to step up another notch if we want to make a run in the playoffs, because we're going to start playing, obviously, the elite of the elite, and the margin of error gets a lot smaller.
Right.
Hey, last week when you were here, we talked about your nomination, 5th time in your career for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. And it's been filling up Twitter since then.
Right.
And, people
Probably
are,
my mom, mostly.
Your mom.
Yeah.
It all counts.
Yeah, she's killing it every day.
Great video, though, up about your nomination for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Use hashtag WPMOY Alexander on Twitter. But the video was great, showing how much of an impact you had on South Park and many other places here in the community. It's pretty good. This is an all-out assault on the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I think you're going to win.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You know, it's the Be Like Zoe video, so it was really
Like
cool. Yeah, I mean, it almost kind of brought me to tears, especially when I see my kids in the video and people that I've had a chance to impact. But last night, because I am the Bills nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year, I got a chance to give out 2 Super Bowl tickets to a local, I call him a local hero, Bob Simmons. He coaches, he volunteers. He's a police officer that now has transitioned into like the schools. But he does everything. I mean, he volunteers Little League baseball, Little League soccer, flag football, every possible thing. He has 2 kids. He coaches the older son and the younger son's teams. I mean, I've known him for the last 4 years, and his heart is for raising up just young people and really giving back. And so it was really a cool honor to pass those tickets on and just show my appreciation for what he does in the community, because he's a great representative of what Buffalo is all about.
What did he say last night?
You know, he kind of almost broke down in tears a little bit. He was just surprised. He was shocked because he was like, even when I was talking about giving out the award, he didn't even think it was him. He thought it was going to be one of the other coaches that was out there. And that's just the type of guy he is. And Bob Simmons, you know, if you know him, tell him thank you. He's just a great dude.
Hashtag WPMOY Alexander if you want to help Lorenzo in his quest to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year Charity Challenge winner. Good luck Saturday.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Have a great game. Stay in one
piece.
piece. Play well. Play smart.
Thanks.
Any other advice? Keep going.
yeah, all those things.
Yeah. It's going to be
Lorenzo.
fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun.
Right.
Lorenzo Alexander with the Lowdown, brought to you by Hutch's Redefining City Dining. We're back with more Steve and I, One Bills Live, presented by Colada Health on Buffalo Bills Radio.